It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. Today we're going to be reviewing a Counterculture Modern IPA brewed by Down South Brewing. It's a brand of Lidl. This comes in a 4-pack at about £2.50 for 4 in a box. It's 5.4% ABV in a 330 milliliter can. What really interests me is the Counterculture name on the beer. Now, I review a lot of Australian craft beer, and I've actually got a can of, this is Stone & Woods. It's an actual series of beers, the Counterculture series of beers in Australia. And I'm just wondering whether the people who were involved in brewing this for Lidl have tried some of the Australian Counterculture beers, and they've decided to put it on their can. It's either that or it means something else. Actually, I'm going to ask the question to you guys. What does Counterculture mean? And why is it on cans in the UK and cans in Australia? It's obviously got some kind of brewing reference or brewing term from years ago. I'd like to know. Comment in the comments box. Let me know. Counterculture. Without further ado, let's get this beer out into a glass and see what we get. Nice bit of smoke on the can opening. We have reviewed the Market Brew Pale Ale if you want to take a look at that video. That's the other 4-pack box of beer you can buy in Lidl at the moment. It's a brand new release of beers. We've got a 1 finger white head going on here. Thankfully, it's a slightly lighter colour than this is the pale ale. Actually, no, there's not that much in it. Actually, it looks exactly the same. It's probably the different style glass that I've used. Bit lazy, really. Bit lazy. They haven't changed the colour. The two beers are the two cans. It is brewed on a budget. It's not kind of going to be the highest quality beer. I'm not writing it off. I'm not writing it off before I've even stuck my snozzle into it. I'm gonna get the aroma and be 100% independent with the beer. But just judging by the colour of the beer, the fact that it's the same colour, for me it's lazy brewing. Slow moving carbonation, rolling up the glass. A 1 finger white head. I'll get into that lazy brewing in a moment, but I just want to get the aroma in the first taste. So at 5.4% ABV, it's 1.4% ABV more than the pale ale, and you definitely get a sense. It's a lot more pungent. It's got quite a nice hoppy aroma to it. But rather than the pale ale having a really good aroma and just an aroma of kind of grapefruit and orange peel, this has the aroma of grapefruit, orange peel and zesty lemon, but it's also got a lingering kind of metallic aroma and a slight butteriness in there, which might suggest something, but I'm not going to mention that for the moment. I'm going to dive in, get a taste and see what we get. It's actually it's funny. It's a real funny one. It's a real funny one. I've had worse beers, but this strikes me as it kind of reminds me of a ramped up version of Courage Best, where they've like dry hopped a Courage Best. Have you ever been down to Home Bargains and you bought a bottle of Courage Best? It's about £1 a bottle. Really metallic beer, really kind of metally tasting beer. Well, this is kind of a ramped up version of that. On the plus side, it's very refreshing, it's very drinkable, it's got a nice level of carbonation that pushes the beer around the inside of the mouth. It is lemony, There's some grapefruit flavour, there's some orange peel flavour coming through in this. They're the positives. The negatives about the beer is that it has an astringent bitterness. There's an astringent bitterness that's just running through the beer. They've done an element of dry hopping, I can tell that, with the grapefruit and the lemon and the orange peel. But at the same time, they've thrown a load of hops in the boil. And when you do that, when you throw a load of hops in the boil, you're going to get an astringent bitterness. It's like the regional brewers. I mean, no doubt a regional brewer in the UK has brewed this beer. It's like the regional brewers in the UK are so set in their ways that they refuse to change and they refuse to listen. That's the worst thing, they refuse to listen. It's like they're walking around going, we got loads of money in the bank. You know, we can walk around like this all day and not listen to any kind of critic or any kind of comment about their beer, or even look in the direction of where beer's heading. And I mentioned Courage just now. Back in the 90s, they were huge. Courage Brewery were a massive brewery in the UK. They don't exist anymore. They don't exist because they refused to listen. They refused to move. They carried on brewing their old best bitters, and all of a sudden they fell flat on their face, and nobody wanted to buy their beer anymore, and they ended up going bust. So they got bought out, and you know, it just all kind of fell apart. The wheels fell off the wagon very, very quickly. I think the same thing is about to happen to some of the regional breweries in the UK if they don't take their fingers out of their ears and if they do not start listening. You cannot, in this day and age, brew astringent bitter beers with a really horrible metallic metal taste to them in the year 2021. The beer drinking market is too clever now. They're too clever to want it or understand it or want to understand it. They'll just go, I'll go and buy something else. That said, this is a budget IPA. It's brewed for people on a budget. And if you're watching this with that very budget if you're living with that budget, then I do apologise. But I'm just being an honest kind of guy here. I'm just standing here going, okay, twos and fros. This is the reason why it might taste like this. It is a budget beer. Lazy brewing. I did promise I'd talk about lazy brewing. I'll talk about it very quickly. So obviously Lidl have given the contract to a regional brewery to brew these beers for them. They've come up with something very similar with a can. That's okay though, that's branding. They've come up with a branding for this, and they've got like baby blue colours and a baby green colour for their cans. That's okay too. What's not quite okay is the fact that one's 4%, one's 5.4% ABV. And all they've done, they've added a little bit more malt to the IPA to get that 5.4% ABV. And they probably put a little bit more hops in it. But they could have, if they wanted to be creative, again, lazy brewing, walking around with their fingers in their ears. If they wanted to be a little bit creative, they would have swapped some of the malts out. They would have put a lighter malt in the IPA or maybe a lighter malt in the pale ale. But they've gone for exactly the same malt. Look at the colour. Really, really lazy brewing. I give the pale ale a 5 out of 10. I'm not going to give the IPA any more. I'm going to, in fact, it's a 5 out of 10. 5 out of 10 from Real Ale Craft Beer. Please put your comments in the comments box. Subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom. Cheers.